Develop these 5 abilities as part of your personal development quest. I call them the 5 abilities. Here's the first one. Develop the ability to absorb, the ability to soak it up like you're doing today. Be like a sponge. Don't miss anything. And not just the words. It's true, don't miss the words, but don't miss the atmosphere. Don't miss the color. Don't miss the scenario. Don't miss what's going on. Most people are just trying to get through the day. Here's what I want you to be committed to do. Learn to get from the day. Don't just get through it, get from it. Learn from it. Let the day teach you. Join the University of Life. What a difference that'll make in your future. Commit yourself to learning. Commit yourself to absorbing. Be like a sponge. Get it. Don't miss it. I've got a personal friend of mine who's so gifted in this area. I think he has soaked up and remembers everything that's ever happened to him. He can tell you as a teenager where he was and what he did and what he said and what she said and how they felt and the color of the sky and what was going on that day. And the reason is because he gets it. He gets it. He gets it. I'm telling you, it's more exciting to have him go to Acapulco, come back and tell you about it, than it is to go yourself. He's unbelievable. He's got this extraordinary gift. And why is it? When he's there, he doesn't miss anything. Here's a good phrase for you to jot down. Wherever you are, be there. Be there to absorb it up. Be there to soak it up. Take a picture if you can. But take pictures of your mind. Let your soul and heart take pictures. Get it. Capture it. Absorb it. Such an important ability to develop. The ability to get it. Don't miss it. Don't be casual in getting it. Key phrase. Casualness leads to casualty. Second, learn to respond. The ability to respond means let life touch you. Don't let it kill you, but let it touch you. Let sad things make you sad. Let happy things make you happy. I'm telling you, give in to the emotion. Let the emotion strike you, not just the words, not just the image. Let the feeling strike you. Let the emotion strike you. Here's what's important. Our emotions need to be as educated as our intellect. Our emotions need to be educated as well as our intellect. It's important to know how to feel. It's important to know how to respond. It's important to let life in, let it touch you. I'm the greatest guy in the world to take to the movies. I get into a good movie. I want a good movie. Make me laugh, make me cry. Scare me to death. Teach me something. Take me high, take me low. Just don't leave me as I was when I came in. Touch me. Do something to me. Wow. Beginning only lasts so long. If you begin that first week and then you don't continue, yes, you'll be inspired by deciding and planning and beginning. But all of that now will start to fade away if you don't do number 4. One of the great sources of inspiration is progressing. Once you've gotten started, now you proceed, you progress. Now you go to class the second week, you go to class the third week. But it's not only progressing in terms of time, it's progressing in terms of what you're learning, progressing in terms of getting the information that you hadn't discovered before. Now you're excited about that. Progress. One of the greatest sources of inspiration is progress. When you start jogging around the block, and at first it's a little difficult, and then it's 2 blocks, and then you go around 4 or 5 times. But then you notice you're breathing easier. You notice when you go up a flight of stairs, you're not out of breath. And it suddenly occurs to you, in a fairly short period of time, you're making progress. With these incredible Herbalife products, when people first start taking the products, and they've got some health challenges, and they discipline themselves, they do it the first day, and the second day, and the first week, and the second week, but it isn't long. If they need to lose some weight, a pound or 2, 4 or 5 pounds, that is so incredibly exciting. You don't have to wait for 50 pounds. You don't have to wait for 100 pounds. That first one, that first 2 or 3, making progress. Having more oxygen in your lungs. You can tell within a short period of time, I'm making progress on my oxygen supply. I'm making progress on losing weight. Then when you start making progress in your business, your ability to make contacts, your ability to talk to people. So the man who shared with me ideas that changed my life, I want to share with you 3 of those basic subjects. When I met him, I was 25 years old. And when I first got acquainted with him, I used a lot of excuses as to why I wasn't doing well. And he said, well, tell me a little bit about your story. And I told him, you know, I was behind on my bills, had pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, that I was embarrassed about being behind on my big mouth promises to my family. And then he gave me one little simple phrase that really forever changed my life. And here's what he said. Mr. Rohn, if you want the future to change for you, you've got to change. And he said, if you don't change, the next 6 years of your life is going to be just like the last 6. You'll still be behind on your bills. You'll still be behind on your promises. But then he gave it to me in the form of a promise. When I was 25 years old, I've remembered it all these years, and I've shared this promise now with probably over 3 million people in the last 30-plus years. And it's going to be valid for you, so listen carefully to this promise. My teacher said to me, young man, if you will change, everything will change for you. If you will get better, everything will get better for you. What a clear message that was for me. He said, if you'll change your philosophy, if you'll change your habits, if you'll refine your thinking, if you'll change and accept some new disciplines, if you'll turn the corner where you've been in the past, go for a new life for the future, he said all kinds of remarkable things will happen for you if you will change. Before I met Mr. Shoaff, I used to cross my fingers and say, I sure hope things will change. I was hoping the government would change and the tax structure would change and that my boss would change and pay me more money. I was hoping that, you know, economics would change and prices would come down. And I was hoping that circumstances would get better. And then I discovered from my teacher that those things are going to continue the same. In fact, all of those things that happen to us is kind of like the wind that blows. And the wind blows on us all. In fact, in America especially, the last 6,500 years of recorded history, we've got probably the most favorable wind that's ever blown. Economics and circumstances, living in a free country, democracy and freedom, an excellent economy. Sure, we struggle at times, but compared to the rest of the world in the last 6,500 years, we've got the best wind ever. But if you just let the wind blow, I'm telling you, it won't take you where you want to go. All of us must use this wind to take us to the dreams we've got, to the equities we want, to the money we want, to the income we want, and to all the things we want our life to have. This is where we want to go, and we've got a good wind, but we must not leave our future just to the wind, just to the economy, just to the structure of the way things are happening today. Here's what we must learn to do, and that is set a good sail. And if you'll learn to set a good sail, and that's what my teacher taught me in those early days. He said, Mr. Rohn, the wind is going to blow however it's going to blow. Politics are going to be politics, and the economy is going to be the economy. And however it turns out, that's the way it's going to be. What you must learn to do is not to wish for a better wind. That's naive. The key is to wish for the wisdom and the skills and the learning so that you can set a better sail.
There's no other thing that will make you as completely crystalline focused on anything other than war. There's bad guys that you are trying to kill and they are trying to kill you. You can't get any more focused than that right there. When I had this conversation, and I've also said, you know, that the best times of my life, hands down, the best time of my life up to this point was being the task unit commander in the Battle of Ramadi, without question. The worst times of my life also were being the task unit commander in the Battle of Ramadi.
By the way, thank you.
It was an honor. It was an honor to serve. The thing that I came away with, and where I ended up in this conversation with this interview that I was doing, was I asked him, I said, have you ever known anyone that's had cancer, and bad cancer, and they survived it? And of course he said yes. And I said, what do those people say about cancer? Oftentimes they say, I'm glad I had it. It taught me.
Wouldn't go through it again, and I wouldn't wish it on people.
I wouldn't go through it again. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I'm glad I went through it.
I think there definitely are things that one can iterate on, but the core thing is to have a great product, and then you can always improve and iterate on that in all sorts of ways. And I think, even in the tech industry, what's striking is how weak on a quantitative basis so many of the successful companies were. It was just they had a great product, and then years later they were able to optimize it in all sorts of ways. Whereas if you're just trying to optimize and you don't have a great product, I think that rarely works. I think it's always worth asking, where you're going to go with this business. And so I think we're always focused on very short time horizons because you have to figure out a way to get through the next month, the next quarter. How do you get some customers? How do you track? But it's always worth thinking ahead, 5 to 10 years. Why will this be a really valuable business in 5 to 10 years? And how's the competitive landscape going to develop? How's technology going to develop? How's the world going to develop? These are hard questions to answer, but I think the great entrepreneurs that I know always have some perspective on it, and it might be wrong, but it's just this is what's going to happen, and then it's sort of well reasoned, and so you have a plan. And it's when I was playing chess, in junior high school, one of the early lessons I learned was a bad plan is still always better than no plan at all.
Right.
And so, have a plan. You can always change it, but don't just pretend that you have no clue about what's going to happen and that everything about the future is random. If you sort of say that everything's random and out of your control, that's the way you set yourself up for failure.
It's not enough to have a great idea and the focus and the conscientiousness to see it to fruition. You must have the strength and the resolve and the courage to pursue that idea even when the rest of the world thinks you're insane. Time and time again, if you look at the stories of extraordinarily important entrepreneurs, there is almost always a moment when they are the only ones who believe in the value of what they're doing. I tell in my book the story of my book, David and Goliath, the story of Ingvar Kamprad, the guy who founds IKEA. And the crucial moment in the story of IKEA is when he faces a boycott from the other furniture manufacturers in Sweden, and he's about to go out of business. And in desperation, he moves his operations across the Baltic Sea from Sweden to Poland and sets up shop in Poland. And that's what IKEA is. IKEA is essentially furniture shipped flat made in Poland. That's the original elevator pitch for IKEA. What's interesting about that is he does it in 1961. At the height of the Cold War, at a time when East and West, communist world and free world are closer to outright war than at any other time in history, a guy living in the West, Sweden, crosses the pond to Poland, the Iron Curtain, and sets up shop. You cannot imagine what a controversial move that was. That would be like Walmart opening operations in North Korea. Literally, it's on that level of kind of eyebrow raising, you've got to be kidding me, who is this guy kind of thing. But he does it, and he persists, and he turns his back on all those critics. Why? Because he is a deeply disagreeable person. Didn't need people to agree with him, right? And that's how he's able to build IKEA into this extraordinary runaway success story. That's very hard to do. As human beings, we are hardwired to want the approval of our peers.
And define what you consider wealthy.
Wealth is happiness completely. It's how much you laugh and how much the people you love laugh. And that's really what love is, and how much time you spend. Like sending money back to somebody like a child, it's not considered love because kids don't care about money. I remember when I was a child, all I wanted for Christmas was for my parents, for my mom to get back with my dad. And I wasn't able to give that to any one of my children. So I still have work to do. I haven't hit that wealthiness because I haven't been able to take that most important pain to a child and take that away from my children. I haven't broke that cycle. That would be wealth. If my children don't have to pick a side, if they don't have to watch us fight, if they don't have to tune out because they don't want to hear us argue. You know what I'm saying?
What's going to be the secret there? What have you learned that you'll apply? Finding
the right woman for the right reasons. So it's great because I was really able to recognize it in Raquel. But I was like, nah, this time I'm staying. We're doing everything together. Like I enjoy this too much. So it's always looking at it from my kid's perspective, my woman's perspective. I think I've learned to take my eyeballs out of my head and put it in theirs for a second to see what they see and what would make them comfortable over me. As a boss, your job is to think about your business and your staff before you think about yourself. It's the same thing a dad does, or the head of a family. So I guess me being conscious of these things at 47, being evolved enough to take the time to appreciate that's to me is wealth. You know, uncompromised, great quality of living. Like, I prefer not to live in a house that's not big and all the luxuries that I've worked so hard to get. But I think every circumstance Raquel and I have been in, we've been equally happy, whether it's a big house or a studio apartment.
See, grace is available to everybody. It's like sunlight. Sunlight is available to everybody, but only those who open their eyes will see. That's the way it is. But is it not there? Is it there only for me, not for you? There's no such thing. It's available for everybody. It's just that, are you receptive? When we talk about receptivity, see, the entire process of yoga, the word yoga itself means this. The word yoga means union. Union means what? Right now in most people's experience, it is me versus universe. This is how people are experiencing life. Otherwise, why continuous anxiety, fear? They think they are fighting for their life all the time. Why? They're fighting the whole universe. Individual and the universal, being in competition with the universe is a stupid thing to do.